Okay, so let me turn on the screen. Okay, so for today's lab, we're going to move on to a new, okay, so another part, okay. We kind of like finish the React.js, like for previous, like hopefully you know how to create a single page and then how can you navigate, okay, from different page to another page. Okay, so far is the basic part, okay, for your project, okay. And the next, for second requirement that you need to learn is the API server. So today we'll move on to talking about like how can we create an API server. Okay, so why we need to build an API server. Okay, and the language we were using. So we are still staying on the Node.js, and the one is kind of the same as using a framework. It's called the Happy.js. If you heard about that, we do have another one more popular called Express.js. Have you heard about? No idea. Okay. In the industry, pretty popular, or like most of the company, they are using Express. But the reason why I'm not like teaching why don't you use it? I prefer like JS more like clear structure. Later I will talk about like benefits, but the structures, the syntax, I say like for all these framework, the syntax they look like slightly different. Okay. But we are all using the Node.js, the same programming language, but the framework syntax not the same. Okay, so we need to learn how to read the document, look at the example, and then we can install. But the theory in behind, okay, setting will be the same. Like we need to learn what the methods what will be the like URL. How can we pass the parameter? Okay, handle it, and then of course. Later part, how can we connect to the database, no matter it's like MySQL or MongoDB? Okay, how can we fetch the data, retrieve the data, and then return it back like as a response, like in JSON format as an object? Okay, so here's a basic structure. So right here, we will move on to about what's the API service, and sometimes you hear the terms like called a RESTful. Okay, so sometimes so what's the meaning of it? So we're going to discuss, and then for today, mainly we're going to set up, and then you can start. Actually, not difficult to build an API server. Okay, and then conceptually, actually, it's easy to catch up. But the thing is, how can we don't have enough time, but actually we need to cover is about the security. Okay, so maybe later, if you're taking next semester, we do have smart things security. Okay, then I will cover a little bit more about that. Okay. Of course, I give you some resources like telling you how can you enhance the security. Okay, API server if you don't being like injected or somehow. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So when we talk about API, we call it application programming interface, okay? And we try to enable certain communication between client and server, okay? So, but it still hosts on the server side, okay? It's a server side. So you may be a different, we call the API server, and then we have the database server. So we can like physically, they can be like independent, right? Somewhere, okay, you can communicate, okay? Of course, most of our project, maybe we install all this in one server, okay, one single server. So we have an API server, and then we have a database. So the REST API, we call it, so we're using an HTTP request so to prevent the CRUD operation. So actually, short form was the CRUD, okay? We'll talk about that. And then what's the common data format? We call it is a JSON format or JSON. So depends on what we call it. So it's the object file. Okay, so we can also we can customize. Okay, what's the return? Sometimes we will add in some special message, data, or other things. So we can show it. When we talk about like REST, or sometimes we say RESTful, what's the meaning? So it's called state transfer. Okay, it's showing is the design style. Okay, so if we talk about what's the REST, so it's taking the state and then transfer, okay? And all these resources identified by the URL. So when we put in the URL on top of the request, so what's the contents, and then we try to giving a stateless like communication. So each like request is independent. That's what does it mean? Okay, so every time when we request from the API server, so we return the data or the JSON file. Okay, so it's not saying, okay, I have certain condition or like checking certain state loading. Okay, no. So we always like request the data, then the server will return it. Okay, and also mainly we're using the HTTP verbs. Okay, so we're using get, post, put, and delete. Okay, and we use the most of the methods. So we say the methods right here is like put and post. Okay, and put sometimes for update and delete is for deleting record. But most of the time, just like when you're learning database, I think I mentioned about this. Even we try to delete a record, we never really delete a record, right? Okay, so we just letting you know we do have a put and delete, but sometimes we just using get and post. Okay, send it to the data. But of course, the benefit, I will show you syntax. You will see the URL. Okay, the parameter. You can use the same name with different method, but using the same method, we cannot have like same path name. Okay, but when I show you the record right here, so the method right here, most of the time when we need to retrieve data, then we can use a get method. And if we need to create a new data, sending the data back to the API server, then we need to post. But the main difference is that we can using get like passing the parameter, just like the URL right here. But for post, we need to contain a data. That means we say we need to send it with the body. Okay. So when you need to using the post method to send in data to the API server, so you cannot using the regular one. Also, you need to embed it. If you getting the later when I give you some exercise, you will see the differences. So you cannot using. Sometimes we will using the browser. So if you remember, I have one example like fetching the data, right? Showing a list. So when I put the URL on the browser, so you can see a list of like the JSON file data. Okay, so that was the get method. But if we are using the post method, you cannot do it in this way. So either you can using the terminal, okay, send it as a like tagging it as a JSON file, or you can use other tools. Let's say I talk about like Postman. Okay, so put it into the body data, then you can save it. And for the put method, we try to update the existing data, okay, and then delete, okay. So these two, but we in the exercise, I will try to ask you to implement it, but in practical, we are not really using them, okay? Just let you know. And practical time, just let you know, we are going to install one is called a Happy.js. If you just like Google it, you can put like Happy.js. So here's their official website, and learning always going to their let's say tutorial. Okay, how can we create the server? We are using the npm, so we are using the node package manager to install this package, and we need to work it in separate project or folder. Okay, so don't mix it with your React.js. Okay, API server is an API server. React project is a React project. Okay, don't mix them together. Some people say, oh, how can I especially for the Express.js? Okay, sometimes they will mix because they want to sometimes their return data, their response is the HTML page body, but I don't want to confuse you. Okay, for the some production, we can combine together. But this one, we try to build separately. Okay, React project, and then this one is the server, API server. So you need to create a new folder, okay, and then change the directory and install the npm. Okay, so when we start the project, of course, we start with the npm init, okay, and we try to initiate a new project. We generate a package.json file, okay, and then we need to install the Happy.js this package. After we install all the necessary package, what we need to do, we need to create index file. It's called the index.js. Okay, of course you can have another name, let's say server or any name. Okay, so it's the entry point. For the starting right here, let me go back. If you need to execute, let's say you just run it for testing, so you can use the node and execute it like index.js. That's how can we start our server. And then let me go to the sample code. Right here, I just like break down. Okay, so it's the same. We need to import this package. We will import like happy. Okay, from the happy right here. And first part, we need to create a server. Okay, so this server, most of the time we start as a local host, okay, on your computer. So we can run it like on your local computer. Or later, if you want to running on our Linux system on the server, we can install in this way. Okay, also local host. You can define your own port. Okay, we are using 3000 for our serving port. Okay. Later when I combine with the NGX, how can we forward into locals? I will tell you how to doing setup. Okay, when we need to make your website like public to others. Okay, and then the next part is about the route. So it's the really the body. So when we talk about, we need to declare. Okay, we need to using server.route, and we need to declare this route is like which method we are going to use. We have 4 methods, right? Get, post, put, or delete. So we can use either of it. And here's the path. Okay. So everything start with the slash. Okay. So if we just have a 1 slash, that means we don't need to pass anything when we type localhost and then 3000. This one is our entry point. Okay. And then you will receive the one is called a message. Okay, hello, happy, like this. Of course, we have the asynchronous function is called await or server start. And of course, if we are running on your terminal, you receive a message. Okay, here's the console.log. If you want to like logging some data content, then you can use the console log. Okay, so this one server running on this one, and then it's the server.info URI. So it's showing like localhost and then the port. So this one is like basically is the fundamental how we create. Of course, you can go to the happy.js and copy this part. Okay, you will see the structure. Okay, it looks different. Okay, if even you look at the source code right here, and then from the official website, okay, there is sample code that looks different even later. Okay, when I give you some sample code, especially when we have a separate, let's say I need to connect to the MySQL queries, and then you see we have different way. Okay, depends on your style. So some people they like to put in the route like inside, or some people they don't like. Okay, so either way. So right here, the structure is like we try to initialize it is the asynchronous arrow function. Okay, we have an arrow function and create the server putting inside this initialization and execute. Because like if you have slightly like knowing the syntax about the JS or other programming language, when we executing, first we will loading the verbal, okay? Okay, verbals, and then this one is the function in constant function, and then for the process run on this one, we have some unhandled rejection. If something we have error, we will exit. So done. If no error at all, then we will going to execute the initialize. Okay, right here. So it's a synchronized function. Okay, then we declare the server. So either way will be fine. Okay, and I think if you go to D2L, I already gave you the let me show you right here. Okay, so I already gave you the really simple source code right here. Okay, so you can copy from this one, and let's say when we are doing together, we can do it. Okay, let me finish this part, or we can put in the route right below the server we declare, so we can adding the server side, and then we can add in the route method path. All these will be the same. We need to have a handler and giving a request, and then here's a header. Okay, in case, but right now we're not going to cover all the details, but today we're going to just make sure you're able to like start your API server. And the basic one is returning a message. Okay, so we need to return it. Handler, here's a L function. We can return it this way, or we can do it in a better syntax. We'll be using the return. Okay. I will recommend you can like based on the index file I gave you, or you can copy from the official website. This one, copy it and start your server. So let's say right now, let's do it together. So if you're okay, then we can start to do it right now. Okay. So maybe I will start a new folder, or if you do not need it, then wherever you like. Okay, so if you want to create a new folder, we can say V7 lab. Okay, CD V7 lab. And what's the first step? We need to initialize a project. So if you like put the files and then you didn't see anything, okay, I just like put it by default because I'm not going to change anything. The entry point is the index.js. Then I'm going to name the files and I'm not going to give anything. Yes, okay. So suppose right now you already see there's a folder created and you should have I can list right here. You will see the package.json by folder. Okay, I bought it. And package.json file. Okay, so this one is empty. Okay, when I keep on hitting enter, because I'm not going to like input all the information. But if you really need to start a project, you can give a project names and then what's the entry point. Okay, so what's the steps we need to do? What's the command line right here? We need to install it, right? So the npm install at happy. So we can do it npm install at happy. And if you remember, we have a parameter save. This save, we're going to save it to the package.json file. It's the dependency. So if you want to start a project and you don't want to upload the node modules, okay, then you can like just share the package.json and then your source code. So when we hit enter, so pretty quick, we already at 30 packages. If you go to your directory, right now you will see there's a node modules folder right here. You will see the add happy, right? Okay, so what's the next step? We need to create a file, the first file. So if you're using VS Code, then you can use a VS Code. That for me is just a quick project. I just like create a new one, and I will copy the one that adding a route. Okay, I jump pretty quick doing this way. Okay, I put it save and save in the directory in this lab. If you have a problem, like let's say why I try to execute it, nothing happened, maybe probably you didn't start your project yet. Okay, you forgot to initialize your project, install the node modules. Okay, so when I save an index, terminal. Okay, this is my habit. Like for small project, I love to like just like using terminal and then the text editor separately. Okay, if you want to do it as a project, you can use your VS Code to work on it all together. And if you remember, how can we execute index.js? Okay, so you see the server running on HTTP localhost 3000. Okay, so how can we validate? Let me create a new one. Okay, so we're going to our localhost 3000. Hello. So the server started. Okay, so here's the basic. So you may start to follow the steps and then create your first project. So once you receive a message right here, we see hello world, that means your first API server is done. Okay, and what will be the rest of it? So you need to try to add one more route. Okay, once you're finished, okay, this part. So I will asking you, can you adding one more route? Okay, let's say I want to have a user and then just return, okay, hello or any message. So here will be your second step. And actually for the structure is really straightforward. If I want to add one more route, what should we do? Copy this part, put it under it. And if I just copy and paste, because I have two methods, get and then the path. Okay, if they are same, the happy.js will detect, so it will pop an error. So you're not allowed to do it. But sometimes if you see why I can use the exactly same name, let's say in the slides, and then okay, users, right? I have so many, I have get and post method, they are all users. Why it works? Because we are using different methods. Okay. So if I use declare it using the get, so I cannot using the same entry. So let's say for users and then hello users like this. Okay. So if I save it, Okay, so I stop the server, I run it again. So this time I want to test. So what's the new path I just create? I create users, right? So I want to see, okay, is it working or not? So I adding a slash users. Okay, you see. So here's a step 2. Can you create one more route using a get method? If yes, then I will give you more, like, let's say if you can hello time stage status, can you create all different using a get method is okay. Okay. And then slightly question, how can you return a JSON format? So you can like step 1, so you just like copy the message, try to return it, and later because during last chapter, I cover a little bit related to about about the JS, but it's not yet like talk about how can we getting a date. So if you're interested, you can like jump several steps forward. Then you can like, search it. How can we get the current date using JS? Okay. Sometimes say okay when you're looking for the syntax or working, we are need to let's say if you're using W3 school looking for source code, remember using JS instead of Node.js. Okay, because the syntax or the purpose we're doing is not the same. So can you see? Okay, let's say status. Can you copy this message and return? Okay, if you can do it more, how can I get the real timestamp? So this one is the timestamp. Can you return it as a parameter? So it's more like advanced question. And then let me switch on this page. Stay on this page. Okay. So I'll come to help you. Yeah. You can start. So I believe here is a loading screen. Disable this is. Yeah, I remember. Yes, I remember. Because the
So weird, I think if we're having this problem in VS Code,
yes,
and
yeah.
we resolved it by going to the terminal.
I do this in
For instance,
Yes. Yeah, PowerShell. Over. Yeah, you can try the PowerShell. I'm also recommend if you want to try the one I'm using, one another terminal I'm using is correct. If yes, so it also integrated with AI and also it does come with the Windows version. So if you want to try, you can use it, and that's how it looks like. Let me see. Okay, so it supports like you this terminal because it integrated with AI. So even you're using a giving an instruction, so it can help you to do that. Okay, so if you want to try, you can try to install this application. Okay, on Windows. Okay, and I know sometimes for terminal it's complicated.
Yeah.
Windows is not. Try not to work it. Windows is good, but it's not really convenient for development. Are you okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. No, not index. You opening it. Okay, show you this local host.
Use something. Please come. Use this. What is this?
Server started. Okay, this one you don't forget. Okay, so what's the difference between these two?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you miss the route, then you need to add it. So that's why you add.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe for their possible. I have no idea.
So when we start in our first project, of course, we folder and then how you can go. You already installed the npm and Node.js, right?
Wait, yeah, I need to read
I'm going to mention like, some student like
I just
confused the next with the React. So for the API server and React, they have difference. Okay, so, for the React.js, we're building front end. For the API server, right now we're doing is the backend.
Right.
Okay, it's the backend. So you can create a new folder. Okay, and for of course for the lab you can like create a temporary folder whatever you like. Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, and then step one, we need to start a project. How can I start a project? First command npm. Hold on, I can go back right here. npm initial. Okay, so we need to initialize a new project. Okay, so once you initialize, we need the package to building API server. So what's the package we're using? Happy. Yes, yeah. So we're gonna install it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stay back to you.
Okay, yeah. So after you finish this too, I'll start. Okay. So.
You want to do like the time. Just make a little server route, like that you have.
Create a new server cluster. Okay, so, step two, this right here, I was gonna let's say. Okay, I'm just using get methods, okay, and then for the status, okay, if you can finish that, step two, like creating a month, then that's it, when I type it on browser, you can return message. And step three.
That is like that's a route right there.
Yeah, so it's the default, yeah, and, but you know, for our API, but let's say, I want to, get in user data or like login, or maybe like all the information exactly like all the this program. So with different, URL, so that's why we call it RESTful way. Okay, so, and but then, what you need to do, try to add in different route. Step two, is the things, and you can try to change the status.
It gave me this time, I had something wrong with it.
Okay, I think the different route with step two, step three, so try to change.
Yeah, I had some weird issues that nobody
Status.
else was having.
Okay, or you can by default, try to return a JSON. Why not we just return it
Figured out.
text message, right, a string. Okay, so how can you return it as a object? So if you are able to do that, then later, the last part of challenging question, if you can do it, how can you change the real timestamp?
Still, that's stress.
Yeah, so this one I let you like to try to understand.
That's true.
To start project.
Something you just do.
Okay, so do you have?
Where else can you get it from somewhere else?
I just, yeah, I think from this website, I don't know if you. Yes, it's.
Do you have a file this time? Please. Someone please already. Right now you have the package, the JSON file. Okay, you have a project, so I show you a direct story. But
What's your
so
build?
we need to start out, but I need to have an index.js. It's not, because when we execute, all I know is .js, just for index.js, it's not. Folder, I'm gonna put down the file. Okay. But
Basically, just follow whatever you have to do.
yeah, you can, using this one, it works. Also, you can use the sample code from the,
Does it automatically build?
EJS, visual website. The syntax, the structure, it fails, it's really nice. Both them actually. So it depends on, which style or like,
No, that's what it is. This, well, because I'm thinking about doing it, I have it, it just needs to.
This form of character.
Here's the back.
You can try to follow the, like, you follow the
Yeah.
JS like official website, create it next to JS. So cannot use import state outside mode. System. We can start to do it on outside.
So in here? Liking or
What do you want to do?
just the residency index.
Load index.
No,
So it's the, is the, where is the index class here?
This is index file cluster.
Have you done all of the things like you install?
Those.
Just do it. I mean, yeah, I didn't use it. I just used the here's my city this one.
I just took the file from DCL.
You did,
What's the?
so it's different from mine. It's the same one.
Wow, okay, that's gonna be the easiest way to do this. Okay. That is the solution. Use the efficient.
Yeah.
So you are not such a producing take over this. Thank you, sir. You're
Is that the right one? The second change. The third, yeah.
So.
Are you the,
If we can, then we can use them.
just make a index file.
We change it to the right. So we change this. So that would be fine. Let's see if we can input. Well, no, you can change the whole file. No. Another file. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
very
make it file.
put the index file.
Just making index for JS.
Oh, yeah, where does this index for JS go?
This is my folder.
This is, okay, got it.
Wait.
And then we get.
Yeah.
I'll say. Okay. Okay. Then change to default one using the part. I think some of you when maybe they're not taking the input, so take a version from there. So using the happy, yeah, no device. Yeah, website, you can show that JS. So you see how they import it. Okay, so you can use the okay, it's fine. So
Okay, do you have?
if you don't do that, it was count. And
I think some of you, some of you try to copy the index code I'm using. So if you receive the error, I guess, because maybe the not version, how they import, okay, they change to require for Happy.js. Sometimes the syntax, once they change, then we need to follow. So that's why that's why I'm using the import, right? Most of the time, actually, it's supporting, but you can see that how can we importing the Happy.js right here. We're using the require. Okay, so you can, if you got the error, try to use this one. Okay, and I don't know. In this moment, it's like this one, like this syntax. Sometimes if they have new version, it comes out. We have different way. So So that's why like better habit is like always go to their official website, look at their documents. Okay. And
This is what.
This like reason.
Yeah. I got that.
Do you have your index to JS? Ship in the error, we're gonna use in the error. Yeah. Okay.
These are, yeah, like this.
Yes, no index to JS.
Yeah.
Save it to.
So now I think all you gotta do is just
Location.
copy. Oh, where's the copy from?
It's happy.dev. It's the second one, not that one.
It's the sec.
Copy that one, paste it in the.
so we can replace.
Okay.
So we
Appreciate it.
Replace this.
into the home module.
Is this pretty much?
So we're not touching anywhere right here. So we will just say
Say that.
we can name it because the entry format is called the index change. Of course, because we are running it right now. Update now and when the farm, so it doesn't matter.
You're right.
We can do that, it's the same. So we can name it index to change. So we need to save it to here. I think you will say save it, you can just save as.
Okay. Okay, so you're in there, okay, then you know.
Save as.
No JS.
Index to JS.
I tried to get it together.
Directory. Okay, well, yeah, okay. Okay, no dash.
Oh, we don't have.
Yeah, I have the space.
I don't like Windows. But even on my Windows machine, I use the Windows subsystem mainly, or like a Linux emulator.
Okay, so one page.
So work of
Yes,
course.
I'm probably deaf because I put some logic into it. And, terminal usage because I'm involved.
Yeah, so
I did, like.
I mean, they put forward, and then I was pulling it up on the user, you got the index file, so it's just user file.
Well, yeah.
And then when I pulled it up on PS, it started text, got a lot of stuff just popping up.
Yeah, well, no, it is.
It gets hard. So here's your file of new item index. So
What is going on?
Good the database. It's like you're using.
Yeah, I just looked up.
Do we know?
Should I have that done from here?
Oh.
But when I installed this, when I did this, it just automatically put it to my user.
Yeah, so because when you start the project right here.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
You will install it like there's a directory.
That would work.
You are one
When I was there,
yeah, so if you want to change it directory, you need to use the CD. So let's say because you are in your kind of like document folder.
Yeah.
Actually, you contain everything.
Well, yeah, everything.
So you can find the create folders. I don't know where to put. Let's say
Okay.
you can show
Well,
me on the like.
Yeah, I have a little.
Right here, okay.
Oh,
It's not
and
bad.
then also put it
Right,
here.
okay, new project. Oh,
Sure, yeah.
What's the interaction
okay.
with?
So when you you can.
The backslash, we do a backslash in it for.
So suppose you create different ways for Windows. So let's say you can copy the directory right here and then paste it. Or of course you can remember. So like C, okay, and then print
All
it,
that.
okay. So
You have to.
it's always happen like this now. For the argument.
Is that?
Is the-
Oh, yeah.
I don't. It's the Windows so it's not. So that's much.
I did just type it out.
Yes, yeah, so we're going to mention.
Yeah.
Screen foundation for because like especially for space. Okay, and there's two.
What's popping, but when I.
Creating right here and then the project.
Go for it.
So it works.
Okay, now.
Okay, yeah,
so now I
sometimes,
can do it from the
okay,
top.
yes, yeah. So you can initialize one more time.
Yeah,
npm initial. So when we pass the parameter, like that's why. So you that's why it's like I don't double click Okay, so like let's say if I just say for demonstration, I don't get pass it. Okay.
Right.
So by default, if you need to change the project name or any like the information, you don't have to. So everyone able to start your server?
Is it?
Okay, the first route. Okay.
Well, no, I was briefly and I was able to.
Okay, good, perfect. Okay, and if you're able to start the server, okay, so you can like step 2. I want to let you to add the extra route. Okay, you can create any name. So let's say hello, wherever like any name like time status. Okay, so you can we are using the method get. Okay, so if you are able to do more, you can try post or put wherever you can create all this route. We are going to return it like for the test message, right? And if you're able to create multiple routes, then I want to let you to try to change the status one. You can try to return it as a JSON format, part 3. Okay, so if you're able to return it as a JSON format, then I will let you to try. Can you return it not as a string right here? Can you return it like getting real timestamp? So let's just study. Okay, how can you return the real timestamp? That means I will change the time every time I running the server, sending a request. Okay, so this one I will let you to try. If you do. So yeah, okay, you change it. Then you know how to add the extra one. So you can do copy and so just make sure it's like also. So if you look at the syntax right here, so all the route we are putting like inside initialize. Okay, so for the get right here. Okay. Actually we will have multiple more than one style to writing this server. Okay, syntax. Right here you see is one of it. If later when we have multiple route, I don't want to like put it all nested like route inside the initialize, then actually we do have another style. It's similar to the index I gave you. Okay, but when we import, then we need to using the request. But later I will show you later. Okay, and we have more than this. Like actually for the API server, we have the authentication, like doing caching, cookies, all this. Okay, if we're interested, how can we adding other functions? Okay, slightly more than what you need for today. Okay, you can add more different functions, calculations. Sometimes we call the string client. That means like we only sending the request to our API server and our API server to calculate. Okay, that means like no matter, let's say if you want to develop like a game, okay, mobile game, okay. So most of the time you just like getting the data only. Okay, so most of the data or like the calculation we are handling in the API server. I just like return it. Okay, back to you. So it's like it can secure okay most of data because you don't want to let the hacker. Let's say I know for Android, so we do like kind of like off topic, but that's what I did before. Like for Android, we can do the reverse engineering. No, so we can unpack the Android package, change the source code. Okay, so if you did, like if you try, so this is what I did before. I download the APK file. Okay, it's an Android file, so I do the reverse engineering. So you can unpacking those API file back to the Java source code. Okay, and then you can change all those syntax. Okay, parameter. So if you want to prevent the people like doing this way, let's secure data. Then we're doing the thing kind. That means like most of the data we just send it to the server side, and then we do all the calculations and return the result, and that's it. Okay, so this slide is more than we can cover. Okay, just extra information. Okay. Let me show you this how we create, and then of course, good habit. giving a comment. Okay, this get method. Let's say users. Okay. Sometimes if you want to have a like clear message, sometimes say okay, and like this. Okay, reference. So here's the adding extra one. So if you want to returning a status, okay, let's say right here, if you want to return status right here, then how can you replace it? Or can you change it to a parameter or like variable? Can I do it in this way? Let the return data like this. Okay, as an object. Can I do it in this way? Okay, it's not complete yet, right? So you may try. Okay, based on what you learned before, and then try. Okay, syntax right here. So here's the return message you want to do. Okay, you can do it in. And for a good API, sometimes you see we adding the status. Okay, sometimes like timestamp. For the request, sometimes we will, if a successful request or HTML, we will get the code later. I will talk about it's like 200. So we know like sometimes 300, or like most time you see like 404, right? So I think like page not found like 404. So they all these are status code. But sometimes when we're building an API server, we want to letting up for communication. Okay, because let's say you are the front-end developer working on the React, right? And then you are the API server working on the back-end. Okay, sometimes I want to make sure for the status code, like for itself, for communication status code, it give telling you, okay, 200 is a successful in communication. Okay, but sometimes maybe the database error or somehow there's some issues you couldn't get it. So maybe better habit. Even I can return the data, I will also give it a status code. Let's say it's called OK or 200, 300, 400. Okay, telling. Let's say if I cannot fetch the data, but I still need to return this message. Okay, back to you. So I'm putting it, let's say it's a 400. Okay, or we can have some other defined status code. Let's say 415. It's like the database is not executing. Let's say like this. Okay, so we can on top of it like building, but I say more than that. What you need in this moment, what you need to do, just like building your first route. Okay. Show this part. So you can use either way, try to create a variable, return it, or just return it, or return. So you can return it this way. Okay. TikTok emits something, but for this one, I just ask you to fill up the contents. Okay. Okay. Either way is okay.
Okay, so I got the word. I got it.
Okay. Okay. Good. Perfect.
Yeah, I just downloaded the wrong folder. But I was trying to catch up. What was the second?
Okay. Second one is that can you add extra prompt? Okay. Can you create another prompt? Let's say hello time.
Okay.
Okay. You can add more.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be missing.
Can you create a real time status right now?
I'm trying to say this, if you can just like kind of record it.
Maybe there's a little bit of something.
Yeah, I don't know how to use record.
Remember, if you modify the source code, remember to terminate, stop your server, and restart it again. Okay. I need to change the forms. Before me working. Is it better? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand the difference there? The other get it up to basically one, they have to actually create a second one, so that they just turn and see the other one. Actually, that's how I actually do it. But I'm not gonna tell people how you actually do it, because then.
Yeah, so when are you trying to create the second route?
Because it's all about emails. Right.
Yeah, so, we just do return as just a text, right? Because it's a string, right? See, so you already got the return current. Okay, good.
Just wanna refresh it.
You need to stop your server and then, yeah. So just remember, when you change the source code of your API server, remember to stop your server and then restart running one more time. Otherwise, you won't see.
Yeah, if you have your.
Slightly not that early. Actually, I talk about this one. One of the if you're still struggling on the adding route or like working on it, you don't have to listen to me. Okay. So for those, if you are kind of like already finished all this and trying how to getting the real time stamp whatever, okay, just like extra information. You'll be running the server right now. Like once you execute, if you change or add to your source code, you have to terminate your server. Okay, that means that you need to stop your server. Let's say right here. Okay, so I need to stop it and then restart your server again. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the data, your refresh. Okay, data. Okay, so actually there another package later you're going to use on your server. Okay, because we never running the Node.js like right on your server, right, or terminal. Actually, we have another service called the PM2. Just like introducing, but later I will tell you how can we use it. So PM2 is helping you to running your Node.js server in the background, and then we can set up like kind of like called the watching. So it can keep monitoring the change of your source code, and it can serve you. Okay, so that means you don't have to restart your Node.js like server, API server again. Okay, this one is just extra. Okay, so I'll talk about it later. Okay, let me come back.
Yeah, right, so I need to add again,
So we are still using the get method.
right, but I need to add, where was it, the rest of the string, so.
You can try to use, try all these methods.
so
Will
it's
you
like
see?
right here,
Yes.
and
Yes.
move it from this thing.
I think it moves. Oh, maybe my code career, let me see.
So then there should be,
They're also.
host.
Yeah. Or at least like single, like all.
I guess that everything else is the same for the most part.
Yeah,
That should.
for the part, okay, first you can try to do like stay on same, but actually there's some like tricky parts of it. I like to finish.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will tell you.
If you finish, if you want to try, because we talk about, we have the like get methods, post method, put method, and delete methods. Also, we can try to like implement all this. Okay, so adding all these methods. Okay. Yeah.
It's showing errors from me.
Okay, you show the status. Okay.
I'm trying to grasp them.
It's on them.
Are they formatted?
Okay, so this one actually you will see sometimes we call it TMZ. Okay, so this one really depends on the variable source content. The next right here. Okay, so you recording getting the current time of the date, right? So current time and then to ISO string. Okay,
Is that why it's moving?
Yes, yeah. So if you want to show it different way, you can change. But when you because you're using the IDE, right? So actually you can use go to if you can refer to W3 school and then see okay if for the date you can select JS date.
Oh,
It will give you more data. So sometimes we can also we can format. Let's say I want to go in the year, year, month. Actually, you do have this. So you can refer to it. But I recommend you to look in documents and you can format all this. Okay. So the basic format.
You wanna add
to
Yes.
they do.
Because they use that one, just the.
Because the title or like timestamp or it's like that. Yeah.
Mostly just,
So this one is added to a new date, but you can change the font. You can say date format. Okay. Yeah, you can let break down to like get year, get month. Okay, so it's in the branch. Let me say here things. Say will we have the headspace and then the path, the Excel is so it has a hub. Okay, so you need to give a different name for your path. So let's say this one's the time. This is okay. So just I want to remind you one more time. So when you implement work on it, so you will see the route, right? For the path, if we are asking if you're using, let's say I have I copy this one. If you're doing in this way, like let's say I'm using get methods and then giving a same path, it will giving you the config error. Okay, but if I change it to post, put, you won't get it. Okay, so for different methods, we can have same path because their function, they're not doing the same. Okay, but if you are using the same methods, then you need to have their unique path. Okay, so just be careful of this one. So in case you see the error message, you can change it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize the argument is all the same method, but
Mhm.
different patterns. And
Okay.
now it's a JSON and a response, like
Mhm.
that,
Okay.
like
So
status, okay.
yeah. So I would say step one, you can just like copy this part because start with the code breaker. So this one actually is JSON is an object. So you can try to instead turning like code from the other place.
So you can see how it works.
Even the single
the
quote.
little-
Yeah, can do it outside. I think so you missing this. The close.
Oh, the close.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so also the same code, you know, to put it. Okay. So you're not good, and then save it and restart your server.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're able to return the JSON file, the next step, can you return the real time, like we the real time.
Okay, okay, that's the next one.
Open, go good, easy.
What's the goal of looking at like?
Okay, for all the API, I'm not really what's that those. For all the API you cover, they have their own purpose. Okay, let's say if I want to get a product, I want to get a product list, I want to get a product category, okay, or I want to load in the user profile. So for all these, we can serve in different routes. Okay, so that's why I want to get in the user profile. So I will say let's say local 2000 and then user profile. So that's how it can be accessed. And you this route later, like when you integrate, and we're going to connect with our MongoDB, so we can then we check the data from MongoDB, we check it. So that's how we do it. And if we have another URL, let's say we need to put in the category, so we just return category. Okay, so all this, and you can have so let's say we have the same branch name. Okay, we have called user profile, right? So the get we are only retrieving data. If you update the user profile information. So you want to update, you can use the method for post, or you can use put. Okay, but even both of them are different. Okay, so here's the thing. No matter we using post or put, we maybe also need to connect to the mobile video, like update the data. So that's why in practical, you don't have to really say you have to use the put method. But it's like practical, you say put is for updating data. So that means that it's the same. Sometimes we just using a namesake update profile, and then use the post method. So the practical we are doing this way, and so far even we say like delete, we're not really deleting data, right? Okay, even we can use that part called delete. Okay, so user profile method is called delete. Okay, but right here we just say okay, maybe put this record to invaded, or we give them a boolean, set true or false, right? So for all this route, they do their own function. Okay, so we are not mixing them together. Okay, so this is the purpose why we have different routes.
Yeah, so we can't really do any of that because we don't have data to connect to right now.
Yeah.
And that's why it's just a lot of text outputs.
Yeah, only text file. But I will ask him try to return the JSON file, because right here. So when you see right. Okay, so when you return this one, try not to put it inside the double quote or single quote. Okay, so when you return it, so when we return as an object, should be doing this way. Okay, so don't adding the code right here. If you add in the code, it will become a string. Okay, so and that's why we say that for API server, most of the time we handling is the JSON file. So it's a JSON file. So it's a curly bracket. So when we return it, don't put in the string. Okay. Yeah.
How do you steps here to get the status to work? Because I'm just hoping this.
Okay, so
Is
you
that-
yeah, you can do it in this way. Yes. And then why not you create how can we return it?
Oh, I'm not looking. Oh,
You have not yet returned it.
sorry, I have it, but I removed it.
Okay. So you can return it. Okay, timestamp. Okay, and of course we do a different format, because right now we didn't format it. So
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so that's why you.
But then is there any way to make it like dynamic? Because obviously I'm just talking about a year, that is okay. Is you
Oh, yeah. And most of the time for this, it is right here, okay, but in practical,
Yeah.
you have more like
first
something
route
given
to-
scope or something
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
but this one is
Exactly.
yeah, so yeah, you can change it.
But
Yeah, obviously.
I think-
Yeah, you
Is there a way to like make it dynamic? Or I guess, yeah.
Oh, you can do it, actually, right here, you can, not yet cover, actually, you can add a function, is condition, you can check in. So in really for your project, you will even more, for today's lab, installing it and then just let you to try it using the route. So it's okay. Yeah, if you can do more than that, you're welcome. Yes.
Just conditional science and data.
Yeah. And check your route. So this one is the entry one for route. So what's the route name? Okay. So right here is the route. So it's the time. So we need to add /time.
Because if you're asking the question why we have different route or later if you remember if you're working on the React.js, so we have the fetch function, right? So we have a fetch function, so we're passing the URL. So let's say this URL, I assume it, let's say it's URL is equals to I say API dot my server.com, and then maybe I access to the port or wherever. So this one is like another part of setting. Let's say I do it and let's say I call it time. Okay, I want to get the time, okay, or status. So that's what we're going to access. Okay, so let's say if you want to get something else, I'm not getting this, I'm working on the user profile. Okay, so I'm getting user profile. Okay, and if you want to update the user profile, also we can doing the same way. So update. So depends on the method you are this time is like we fetch is like get. Okay, so if I want to post the data, so it can be the same path. Okay, and if you are working on the products, okay, sometimes we have the category or like product list. Okay, well, I want to get some list. Okay, so we can return. And most of the time, why we are I'm asking you try to work on a JSON file, because the return data from the MongoDB will be also JSON file. Okay, so that's why. So you need to get used to like knowing how to return it as a JSON file. Sometimes we can adding other functions. I have not yet covered like for the coming like this 2 weeks, I'll just like quickly go through like the API server. So like basically you can build in the basic API server, okay, and then you can host it on the server side. And then later I will tell you how can we connect to the MongoDB, fetch the data, okay. Kind of, you can like after the mid of semester, then you can start to prepare in case you need to start your project earlier, like working on it earlier. That at least I want to cover all this part, and I will go back to all this like all the details, like more, like or more details. Yeah. So if you're still confusing, don't worry, I will come back. But I try to like here's my kind of like for work programming. My style is like try to cover all the necessary two skills you need for your project, and you can prepare early. Okay. And then almost time. Who's still online? Any question from online? No message. At least.
Well, yeah, I tried doing multiple routes, but I'm just getting in here. That's just.
Okay. Status code. So I you stay on the entry point.
The entry,
The
well,
Wednesday.
yeah, that is,
So you didn't pass any other ones. How about?
well, I mean, this is the code that I am using.
Okay, so have you tried? The one that you have the how, you have user status, but one now you don't have that. Okay, so when you see the path, the one with one slash is the entry point. So you didn't pass any parameter. So if you want to see, let's say, go back to
The
web. Okay, so can you add in the parameter right? The slash.
hello.
Hello, yes. Okay, let me see.
Oh,
Okay.
just like that?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, and what's the next one?
Oh, okay, let me just, double check.
Check in. Do you have users? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a put function. Okay. So be careful for post and put. Okay. Because we need to send it with the body. Okay. Just I didn't know you cover about with that body data. Okay. Because you cannot request it from the browser like this. The browser, what you see mainly can handle get method. If you get the error, if you for those method like let's say put and post, for sure you're getting error. Okay, well you didn't see anything. It's normal, it's common. Okay, so either you can use the application called Postman. Okay, so you if you want to test it, so Postman, so you can install it. So you can or another one is called a crew. Okay, let's say post. Okay, so right here. So here we need to pass the parameter, the data right here. So it can be a JSON file, and then what's your URL will be your local host, right? And sometimes we will giving a header. So the header will be a content type. I'm not yet covered about this part because I think you are struggling. So you can start with the get first. That's why you can test with the get for the post and put. You need to testing using the crew. So you need to using your terminal passing or using the application. Let's say the Postman. You can download it and try to use it. So it will comes with the UI. So you can like type all those parameter and then click a button send. Then you can test your API server. Yeah, you do have a version timestamp. You define your own timestamp. Okay, so you have a get method status. Okay, save and then run your server. Okay. Okay. My here. So because for the URL, so here, so what's the not your route?
Slash the.
Okay. So that's why you need to pass with the
full.
your path. So the meaning of the path, because I know some of you say, okay, why is nothing updated? Because when you try to request it, let's say right here, let me move it. Okay. So when you have a local host, right? So local host, and then we have the default port 3000. That's what we're running on your local server. When you see the path, okay, with 1/, you don't have to input anything. Okay, so it will be the entry port. Okay, sometimes you don't there's nothing for meaning. So maybe sometimes I like to have a testing path. So either you can use this one like it's working, or sometimes I give a message. The API server is running. Okay, sometimes you don't know, is my data or like because the data I post to the database wrong, or is my server is running, is down, whatever. So if I have this request, so by default, okay, I didn't enter anything. If I receive, okay, message is the server is running, that means I know it's fine. Okay, and then here is the path, right? So when we pass, the path will be the following right here. So you need to input. If you didn't see any update, remember you missed the path. Okay, so that's why the path should be unique. Okay, especially if you're using the same methods. Let's say we are using the get method. So if you have a two get method and then name users, then you will get a conflict errors, right? So this one you need to change it. That's my personal habit, like most like for my projects, like really project. Let's say I want to work on the user profile, and for the post method, let's say right here, let it be more meaningful. So even the post method, I know it's a post, but sometimes let's say I want to like say update user profile like this. Okay, so it's more meaningful. So when you later you're learning how to prepare documents. Okay, so because when you're working as a team, I know some of you may be working on the back end, some are working on the front end. So sometimes you need to give a document to your teammate, okay, or group mate. So telling, okay, what's the function or purpose of this URL? Okay, how can you? So that's why when we're working on the front end, it won't affect the back end. Okay, later when we talk about the database, like over so like RDMS. So we don't care like who's, even you're working on the backend, you change all the like setting everything, but all the path will be the same way. The return data may be the same. So for the front-end developer, let's say if you're working front-end, I can still getting the same data, like using the same URL, I can still get what I need. Okay, so I don't have to change anything. Okay, so here's the why we like make it separate. Okay, so if in case we need to really change all the structure of API, then you need to prepare a new document and then like set forward to your front-end developer and let them know, okay, this URL already changed. So maybe this time we're adding the status code or something else. Okay, so you can access. So this what this like let's say the Happy.js. Okay, So they always change it. Okay, so maybe they try to make it more like function, empower it. Okay, so that's why we need to learn looking at the document. Okay, because it's changing. So even the import method, maybe right now we are using require, but not the import, because sometimes because the change of the version. Okay, I think it's almost the time. And let me stop the sharing right here. Thank you. If you